Hey everyone, happy Monday. This is Nishana with your Monday motivation. James 1 verse 12 says, "Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life which God has promised to those who love him." After the Lord appeared to Moses in the burning bush and gave him the task of leading the people of Israel out of Egypt, Moses returned to his former home, and with the help of his brother Aaron, he set out to meet the Pharaoh. Clearly, he did not take God seriously when he said that he would harden the Pharaoh's heart, because despite the people of Israel believing that the Lord had sent Moses and Aaron to deliver them from the hands of the Egyptians, nothing worked. Moses and Aaron approached the Pharaoh, showing him great signs to no avail. He would not let the Israelites go. As the water turned to blood and frogs took over households, Pharaoh remained firm. Even the threats of gnats, flies, death of livestock, boils, hail, locusts, and darkness could not soften the Pharaoh's heart. So during the Passover, the last plague was set in motion. The blood of a lamb or young goat was smeared on the sides and top of the door frames of each Israelite home. As the Israelites celebrated Passover, they waited anxiously, fully dressed in their sandals. At midnight, the Lord passed over Egypt and killed all the firstborn sons. Even the firstborn livestock were killed along with the Pharaoh's son. That night, the Pharaoh, his officials, and all the other Egyptians were awakened by loud crying throughout Egypt, as there was not one Egyptian home without a dead son. So the Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron and said, "Get out! Leave my people and take the rest of the Israelites with you. Go and worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and herds, as you said, and be gone. Go, but bless me as you leave." The Egyptians urged the people to hurry and leave their country because they thought that they would all die. The people filled their baking pans with unleavened dough, wrapped them in clothing, and carried them on their shoulders. With their belongings and the jewelry and clothes they had asked for from the Egyptians, the Israelites would depart with the wealth of the Egyptians. So the Israelites set out from Ramesses for Succoth, with 600,000 men, not counting women and children. The Israelites had lived in Egypt for 430 years, and on the last day of the 430th year, all the tribes of the Lord's people left Egypt. On that night, the Lord kept his promise to bring his people out of the land of Egypt. In response, Moses dedicated every firstborn, both human and animal, to the Lord. As the Israelites left Egypt, God did not lead them through the land of the Philistines, despite it being a shorter route. He thought, "I do not want the people to change their minds and return to Egypt when they see that they're going to have to fight." Instead, God led them in a roundabout way through the wilderness of the Red Sea. So they left Succoth and journeyed to Etham, where they camped on the edge of the wilderness. During the day, the Lord went in front of them in a pillar of cloud to lead the way, and during the night, he led with a pillar of fire. He remained with them always. Now the Lord spoke to Moses and told him to tell the children of Israel to turn around and camp by Pi-Hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea. They were to camp along the shore, across from Baal-Zephon, and confuse the Pharaoh. The Lord also warned that he would harden the Pharaoh's heart and he would try to chase them, but that this was his plan in order to show his victory and prove that he was the Lord. So, just as the Lord had said, Pharaoh changed his mind. He harnessed his chariot and called 600 troops. Despite the Israelites' triumphant departure and exodus from Egypt, the Egyptian army, with all the horses, chariots, and drivers, pursued them and caught up with them when they were camped by the Red Sea near Pi-Hahiroth and Baal-Zephon. When the Israelites saw the army marching against them, they were terrified and cried out to the Lord for help. "Weren't there any graves in Egypt? Did you have to bring us out here in the desert to die?" they cried. "Look what you have done in bringing us out of Egypt. Didn't we tell you before we left that this would happen? We told you to leave us alone and let us go on being slaves of the Egyptians. It would be better to be slaves there than to die here in the desert." "Don't be afraid," Moses answered. "Stand your ground, and you will see what the Lord will do to save you today. You will never see the Egyptians again. The Lord will fight for you, and all you have to do is keep still." The angel of God who had been in front of the army of Israel moved and went to the rear. The pillar of cloud also moved until it was between the Israelites and the Egyptians. The cloud made it dark for the Egyptians, but gave light to the people of Israel. And so the armies could not come near each other all night. Moses held out his hand over the sea, and the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind. It blew all night and turned the sea into dry ground. The water was divided, and the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground, with walls of water on both sides. The Egyptians pursued them and went after them into the sea with all their horses, chariots, and drivers. Just before dawn, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud at the Egyptian armies and threw them into a panic. He made the wheels of their chariots get stuck so that they moved with great difficulty. The Egyptians said, "The Lord is fighting for the Israelites against us. Let's get out of here." The Lord said to Moses, "Hold out your hand over the sea, and the water will come back over the Egyptians and their chariots and drivers." So Moses held out his hand over the sea, and at daybreak the water returned to its normal level. The Egyptians tried to escape from the water, but the Lord threw them into the sea. The water returned and covered the chariots, the drivers, and all the Egyptian army that had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not one of them was left. But the Israelites walked through the sea on dry ground, with walls of water on both sides. On that day, the Lord saved the people of Israel from the Egyptians, and the Israelites saw them lying dead on the seashore. When the Israelites saw the great power with which the Lord had defeated the Egyptians, they stood in awe of the Lord, and they had faith in the Lord and in his servant, Moses. Deliverance doesn't eliminate trials. Sometimes God ordains trials in our lives even after he has delivered us from our circumstance, so that we will trust him and honor his deliverance. He asks us to move in faith and trust that he knows what he's doing, even though we cannot see what will happen. The truth is that God is sovereign over all things, including the trials that come into our lives, and trusting him sometimes means walking into the eye of the storm. But understand that despite how uncertain your trials may make you feel, through the cross, God disarmed and triumphed over every force of darkness to secure your salvation. So trust God's plan, even when it means facing what you have already been delivered from. God knows what he's doing. Have faith that he's experienced in dealing with trials. So when you experience your deliverance, don't forget to give him the glory. God, we understand that faith in you marks a new life with the world and sin behind us and eternal glory ahead. Thank you for your sovereign grace, substitutionary atonement, and saving faith. As you destroy the old and introduce the new, keep us faithful. Amen. This was Nishana with your Monday Motivation. See you next week. Bye.